ready.
Hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan from Sport Clips. This is another edition of our Hall of Fame podcast. And first I should say aloha to everybody out there because we are recording this in, what is it, Milani? Milani, Oahu. Near Honolulu is where we are, and she's already spoken. I haven't even introduced her yet, so I tell you what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let you introduce yourself. Who are you and where do you work?
I am Kirsten Buhr. I am the manager for HI 102 and our area manager out here on the island.
All right, and the reason, and by the way, we are literally, and those watching on YouTube, we are filming this in the equipment room at IH 102. Most of the times we record the podcast, we're in a podcast booth at headquarters, or I'm on the road and we've reserved some. We decided, hey, this is Hawaii, let's do it Hawaiian style. We're right here in the thick of things. So you're probably going to hear, and managers and stylists that are listening to the podcast, they'll certainly recognize the vacuum that'll be going off. We've got delivery trucks behind us. So we have all of that just to show how authentic our Hall of Fame podcasts really are. So there's a number of things that I want to talk to Kirsten about today. And the very first one will be, and by the way, if you were watching on YouTube, and maybe you saw the video that we recorded from her store, hanging proudly here is the championship belt that she and her store have claimed, because Kirsten is currently, as of the recording of this podcast, it's subject to change any day now, but she is the proud record holder of the most MVPs on a single client in a single visit. So I'm going to let you kind of tell what that number is, how it all came about, because I think we've got some competitive stylists and team members out there and other managers that might want to take aim at this record, and they have their work cut out for them. Absolutely. If they do want to. So why don't you give me the rundown? You're the record holder. You got the championship belt of the world, the new trophy that we put out for the most MVPs on a single client and a single visit. So give me the rundown. What is the current number, and how did all this transpire? Give me the story.
All right, so we did a 100 MVPs in one sitting. It was with my client, Sergeant First Class Steven Jackson.
And by the way, we have, for those watching YouTube, we have the plaque. How did you get this trophy?
Dorian Curtis Likens. She is our absolutely amazing coach. She is the best.
From Cali.
From Cali, and she is so sweet, and she made me a plaque, so it has our picture. I don't know if we're holding, no, we're not holding the receipt in that one, but we're doing shakas and all that good stuff. And
a scissor pose.
And a scissor pose, of course, because you got to get that in there. And so she made this, for basically the both of us. It sits on my station every day, and it's a great conversation piece, especially for the rest of my staff, who everyone likes to look at it and like, oh, what is that? What does that mean? And so we have a lot of more clients that are now interested in possibly beating me down, because everyone in all my staff were very competitive.
This is probably a good conversation starter too, about getting an MVP.
Absolutely.
And what it is, and the fact that you're the record holder, of course, but having the plaque, and now you're going to have this belt hanging at least for the next little bit of time.
Absolutely.
So this guy, he's what did you say, he's in the Army?
Yeah, he's Army Sergeant First Class.
His name again?
Steven Jackson.
Steven, okay. So he comes in, he's a regular client, or what's his story?
So I've been doing his hair for a little over a year now. I think I started doing his hair my first month here. And so we've, he's an amazing guy. He's got some fun stories to tell you. He's a really interesting dude. So the way that this came along is he came in one day with his girlfriend, and that was, I think it was 3 days after that 70 had been hit.
So Lisa in West Virginia, who started the trend, and she's actually been on the podcast as well, one of my favorite managers, WV 151, I believe is her store number. So she set the national record at 70.
Yep.
And there was all this buzz on social media, and it's funny because some people are like, well, who wants to do that many? Why is it a record? Why is it a big deal? And others are like, heck no, I want to chase that. I want to go do it. You're obviously wired to be one of those heck no, I'm going to go do this thing. So, all right, so you see this trend going. There's someone set a record.
So the first time I heard about it was actually in Colorado. There was a stylist at their Castle Rock location that got 40. And which at the time was like huge.
Oh, of course.
And then you hear all these other stylists breaking it. And I remember 2 huddles ago, we had a group of managers, and we were asking everyone we could, do you know who has the highest amount? Do you know who has the highest amount?
It was like an unofficial record for the longest time.
Yeah. And
no one really had it nailed down.
But when she posted that 70, that kind of caught my eye a little bit. So Steven's in my chair, and we were just making conversation. He's been coming to sport clubs for a really long time. He's got his sport clubs back home in Georgia and all that good stuff.
Which is crazy, right? These military guys, they're not going on post or on base to get their crew cuts. They want to look good at this day. This is 21st century. This isn't your father's military. They want to look really good, so they're coming in. In fact, I've been here today, and most of the men that I've seen come in and get their haircuts are in uniform. So anyways, okay, so you're sitting down, you're talking.
So he had his girlfriend there with him, and so and this was right before the huddle as well. And so I told him, we were sitting in my chair, and I was like, I was like, it's crazy because he always does an MVP or a double MVP, and so I was like, what's crazy is like someone did 70 of these on one client. He's like, no, they didn't, and I was like, they did, and so his girlfriend was sitting. He said, he's like, so 70. He's like, so what was the record before that? And I was like, the only record that I know of is someone hit 40 in Colorado once. And he's like, well, if someone's going to beat the 70, they should just go to 100. And so his girlfriend's like, she's sitting there, she's on her phone, she's like, I can see you doing 100. And he's sitting there, he's like, I'd do 100. And I'm like, do you want to do 100?
You like stop the haircut there.
I stopped, like I wasn't touching him anymore. I'm just like, do you want to do 100? And he's like, is that a thing? Is it possible? I'm like, oh, we can do 100. And so we planned it for Easter weekend because the military had 4 days off. I knew I was going to be off.
You're going to have to
Friday.
block off some time to do 100.
So I decided, because when I'm here, I'm usually on the floor, and I didn't want it to interrupt the rest of my day with my other stylist. So the way that we did it is I was off it was Good Friday, and he was off, and so he came in, and we had this plan, like we exchanged numbers, like, we had a set date. And so I knew that we were going to do this before the huddle. And I was very careful not to brag about it. I told my coach, Dorian, she was the only person that I told that I was going to do this, because I was so worried that some other managers would overhear and then they would beat me to the punchline.
It's a competitive workplace, sport clips, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I wanted it to be, even if someone passes my 100, I wanted to be at least the first stylist to do 100, because that's still a huge milestone. And so I was very careful not to tell too many people. And then I messaged her the day before, because he confirmed with me that we were still on to do it. And he's aware. Like, you weren't going to do these for free. Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously he's in the military, so you could do a military discount and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like he was just sitting in the chair thinking, oh, that'd be cool, I'd be willing to be your guinea pig.
No,
but he was legit.
all about it. He was all about it. Which is so much fun.
I think that's key.
Absolutely.
To break it, if whoever wants to break the record, you can't be giving these suckers away. Now, if they're in the military, you do a military discount, maybe senior discount or something. But in terms of, we're not looking for people to set this record just to do it. We're actually looking to benefit the store as well, and the stylist or the manager, whoever's going to end up doing it. And the client who gets this the most amazing experience of his life.
Yeah, it was, we had to separate it. The day that he came in, we had to break it up as we were doing it. So our first group that we did 15. So we did 15 the steam tails and shampoos, and we did 15 the neck and shoulder massages. And then our second group, we got up to 40, and then we did 80. And then we did a last 20, and that last 20 was so hard. Like, when we were done by the end of the day, my hands were I got home and I was just shaking, and my husband's like, okay, I'm going to make dinner, I'm going to clean the house. He's like, don't you?
Whatever you want,
you just sit there, and I'm like, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
So how many, are you rotating other team members who were helping you in each of those groups? Or how is this?
The only thing I had my teammates do was make me more steam towels and do laundry. So I did every single one of those MVPs, which was crazy, but I thought we thought about it for a while because I had a few stylists that were on the floor that day that were willing to jump in if I needed them to, but I really wanted to do it for myself. I like to push myself.
I think for the record's sake, I hate to say it this way, I think that's what it has to be.
I completely agree.
So not that I want to delegitimize anybody that requests or has to sub out for part of it, because I was in here talking to Kimberly, one of your other team members, and she's like, I can do 3 at the most at one time. So to do 100, we know it's a feat, but that's what a record is. Not everybody can do it.
It's important to take breaks, and so even though it was not during the instant replay program that we're doing right now in July, so because this was in Easter,
March, April,
somewhere around there. But we still were alternating hot and cold towels, which the cold towels for me was really, really nice because I could have my hands in the ice water, and taking breaks was so key for both of us.
Yeah, maybe do it. And obviously in July, and by the way, full disclosure, I got an MVP today from Kirsten, and I'm in Hawaii, loving. We come here every summer with my family. We love it. I always visit the stores here. But to get a hot towel first and then a cold towel in Hawaii, I highly recommend it. So the fact that you could do that even in March or April, and great tip though, that if you're going to try to set this record, maybe talk it out with the client ahead of time.
Yeah, and then the other thing was when we had to slow down on doing the facial manipulations because. So I use a lot of pressure when I'm doing my massages. Even when we were going that long, I still use as much pressure as possible because I want him to get his money's worth, of course. And so we had a problem with I was rubbing so hard on his temples that he was starting to get like a rug burn on the
bleeding from the scalp.
He's like, you cannot do that to my face anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You need some skin to remain.
And so you gotta watch out for that because the skin is sensitive, especially on the chill towels because they tend not to be as soft as when they're in the steamers. It kind of softens down the actual towel.
So for the groupings, you did 15 and 40 and blah 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 and 20. I can't, I'm still going to be no math on this podcast. So was it 15 hot towels, or did it go hot cold and 40 hot cold?
We went I think we did 3 warm to 1 cold. Okay. I think because he wanted a majority of it to be warm, and then every now and then he would be like, can we do another cold one? Or, he would, we were quiet pretty much most of the time, and I'm pretty sure he was asleep for a good amount of that.
So did he get up when you were doing your groups? So 15 towels, and then got up, and then went back to the chair for the
15,
neck and shoulder massage. And then came back and did, all right. That's good.
It was a little bit easier to group it that way so that we weren't like I wanted him to be able to relax, that I knew that, if you're, getting massage or something, like sometimes you'll doze off, so I didn't want to keep making him stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down so many times. And so we just grouped those 2 parts together and then hit that same number. So I had a poster board, and we were doing tally marks. I had MVP, I had the wash tally marks, and I had the full MVP tally marks just to make sure everything lined up together, and so we were keeping track for everyone.
Being authentic. I mean, it's not like the Guinness Book of World Records people are out here watching and documenting, but you do want it to be legitimate.
Absolutely.
So my real question is, how long? I mean, what time did you start? What time did you finish?
We started at 9 in the morning, and it was, I believe, 3:30 by the time we were done.
Is that with like a lunch break or anything?
We took between our groupings, the 4 groupings that we did, it was maybe 15-minute breaks in between. It wasn't super long.
At any point, does he go, Uncle, I can't do,
I'm
in over my head.
So there's not during the process, but so my store is HI 102.
Yep.
So this is what happened. So we finish up, and all the clients that we had in the store are cheering. Everyone's excited because we finally did it. So everyone was getting into this because all my stylists were like, she's crazy. I don't know how she's still doing it. And so by the time we finished, everyone was cheering for us, and it was so fun. So I checked him out, and the minute we were done checking him out, one of my stylists says, you should have done 102 because we're store HI 102. And I was sitting there and I was like, and I'm I looked at him for a minute, and he's like, no. So
You're like, he hadn't even left yet. You could have technically just tried to convince, but he's saying no.
Yeah, so 100.
You know what he didn't tell you was the whole time, like, he had probably lost count at some point, so just like wondering how much longer, you know.
Yeah, I was keeping him up to date, you know, because
Okay.
we kind of came up with a game plan, especially for, you know, getting like snacks or getting a drink and everything. So we're like, okay, let's push to this one, and then I'd let him know, like, okay, we're at 35 right now, and just like we had a lot of communication between the two of us, because I wanted it to be as comfortable for him as possible. So really, he was boss man. Whatever he wanted, I was gonna do for him.
Well, that's why it's so good when you get these military clients who they're used to the pain and endurance and all this kind of stuff. And but now that I think about it, I believe the record holder had been Lynn Rolfe, who is our VFW rep. He was the client, which was actually Kansas.
He added me on Facebook, and we've talked about it a little bit, and we've talked about like my husband being in the Army right now briefly, and stuff, and which was super cool.
Yeah,
super cool.
If the record's going to get broken, it might be him as the client again.
Yeah.
A, for his love for sport clips, and B, his competitive nature.
Yeah, so speaking of record breaking, so like I said, my staff is extremely competitive with each other. Currently, right now, I have a stylist, and it is rumored that one of Steven Jackson's coworkers is also a little bit competitive.
Okay, I see. So his buddies found out that he's a record holder
because I have the plaques.
Big brand.
Yeah, so he came in and he's like, "Why is there a picture of Steven on her station?" And so my stylist Sarah, who is absolutely amazing, she was telling him about it, and so he's like, "Well, actually, I work with this guy. I don't like that he's winning something. I want to win something, and I want to be recognized for something." So it's rumored that on the next 4-day, she may be beating my record, which it'll be sad to let that go, but it'll still be home here at HI 102.
That's the catch, right? So those of you not watching on YouTube, we'll post a picture on our website, but we have this now championship belt for the MVP record holding store.
Yeah.
And it's got shampoo on it and scissors and a hot towel and MVP and all this kind of stuff. But this can only be held by one store at a time. So if and when that record gets broken and it's by another store, I'll have to give you guys instructions on how to ship this bad boy to them. But yeah, that'd be great if you could just do me a favor. If she breaks it, have some sort of ceremony on social media. Do something where you put the belt on. You take the belt off. Maybe you raise her hand up like she's a champion or something.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
And I really do hope she beats it. Which it's gonna be kind of bittersweet, but especially because we're doing this today and then Fridays, just in a couple of days. But
you like you said, you broke the century mark. That was such a hard thing to do. I mean, for this thing, like, again, to go from people didn't even know what the actual record was. It was kind of rumored. In fact, I was getting hit up like, "Hey, I don't know the record." So we started throwing it out on social media. Hey, what's the most? I think I did a poll at one point. Like, what's the most you've ever done? I think someone had come with like 43.
Yeah, that may have been the one. Yeah.
So, but for now to be an official thing, where some stylists may be like, no, I'm never gonna do that. Others are like, heck no, that's in my sights. I'm gonna make it happen. And you're kind of laying out the blueprint for what the things are that they need to think through.
Because it's so much fun, and I always say, especially with my stylists and our stylists from our other stores, I love to compete with my staff. I love to compete with my team, and it's because it pushes me, and so it's a ton of fun. But like my biggest goal moving out to Hawaii was to find some way to put Hawaii on the map. So meeting Steven, seeing that he was totally there with me, it was so amazing. I could not have been more thankful for that he let me take the entire day.
That's a good transition, because I do want to get into you're not Hawaiian by birth. You did come here. So let's go through this. Your husband's in the military.
Yes.
What's your husband's name?
James.
James?
Yes.
Yes. And you guys have been married how many years?
We are hitting 3 years in August.
3 years. By the way, she's a whopping 23 years old, ladies and gentlemen. So she's been married like a fifth of her life. But But so her and her husband, and you guys were stationed in Colorado before.
Yes.
Which is technically kind of where you're from,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, all right. So you were in Colorado working at a Sport Clips.
Yes.
Right? Were you managing or were you assistant?
At the
key holder?
time-
What were you doing?
At the time, this was my second location. I was an assistant manager at the time when we met. We did not meet at Sport Clips, however, we met at a King Soopers on Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay.
It works out.
Yeah, there really are Valentine's Day's romances. So you and your husband, you meet. You were already working for. When did you become a stylist? Did you become a stylist right out of high school?
So I went to cosmetology school while I was finishing up high school.
Okay. So Colorado allows that you could do both. Okay.
Yeah, you can start at 16.
Did you get high school credits for cosmetology school?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you had to double dip.
Yeah, so I had to do it the second end of my senior year. I had all my credits ready to graduate high school by the end of my junior year, but I'm from a very small town and they do not allow you to graduate early.
They're not used to go-getters in your
No, they're
town.
not used to it. Okay. So what I did is my senior year I had 3 college courses in the morning at my high school, and then they allowed me from there to drive an hour to my beauty school because I lived way out in the middle of nowhere. And so then my last semester I was finishing up 3 college classes in high school and then starting beauty school, and it was crazy, but we made it work. And so then moving forward, I graduated cosmetology school, and I had one of my instructors at my beauty school, Monica Valdez, was with the company for 12 years, and she was a coach in Colorado for a good amount of that time.
For Sport Clips. She was with Sport Clips all the time. Okay.
And so in
cosmetology school, you were already getting exposed to Sport Clips.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So she.
Had you wanted to do guys' hair yet,
no,
or you were just kind of?
No, I'm a 3rd generation stylist.
Uh-huh.
My grandma, my mom, my aunt, they all own a beauty a salon in Colorado Springs. And
you wanted to do color.
I wanted
right?
to do
Let's
color.
Be honest.
I did.
And those not watching on YouTube don't know what I'm talking about. But your hair is a different color every time I see you. So
I get bored.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So you'd wanted to do women's hair. Basically.
Yeah. And so when I was in beauty school, I was terrified of men's cuts. They usually, if you're doing a full cosmetology program, they spend maybe 1 day teaching you how to do men's cuts usually. And it's kind of sad, especially because this industry is booming so much. But even, back, 2015, they were saying that barbering was a dying profession. And then a year later, it's this huge thing again, which is awesome. But so what happened was, I wanted to do women's hair, but I was a little nervous about trying to get a clientele, all that good stuff. And so I was listening to my instructor, Monica, and she was saying that, there's no shame in going to work for a franchise to get your skill set up, to
make some money.
Make some money. Who doesn't love money?
Yeah.
Build a clientele. And so she started talking about her relationship with Sport Clips, which I honestly had never heard of it before because I live 3 hours away from the nearest one.
Yeah, and an hour from your beauty school.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So.
I cannot stress how small my hometown is.
Right.
It's nowhere. And so she started talking about Sport Clips. She started talking about, how it's, mainly men's haircuts. But the thing that caught my eye was she said that she'd worked for plenty of different places, but she had never been so well treated by a company in her life, and that's why she spent that 12 years there.
I love it.
So that...
Did you give her a shout out already?
Oh, yes. She's been
what's
tagged in every... Monica Valdez.
Okay, all right, Monica. Okay.
Yes, she's amazing. I miss her so much.
Okay.
So she... So I moved to Denver, which is... I was not expecting...
You were not in a small town anymore.
I was not, and it was terrifying. I'm not going to lie. So, and if... my first store that I worked at, it was in Lakewood, which is a suburb of Denver. Yep. So it was on Union and 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And
a Murdo store, or who was the team leader?
I don't know who has it now, but at the time it was Brad and Carla Way.
Okay.
And I don't know who owns it right now, though. So I started there, and the manager there, her name, it was Ashley Berry, now it's Ashley Cervera. She's now managing in Texas, I believe in San Antonio, if I'm correct. And she was immediately just... Everything about her just screamed success. And that was so big for me. I would not have the drive that I have today without her. So I applied before I was licensed. I was in the process of testing with the state. So I started
were you coordinating?
I was coordinating.
Okay, yeah,
I was coordinating for 2 weeks, and then and she was helping me because I was terrified. I was like this scared little puppy.
Of course, yeah.
And she helped me like study for my test, get my kit together. I didn't know how to use the feather razor because I knew I was probably going to have it for one of my haircuts, so she taught me how to do that. The entire staff was just immediately welcoming, and I was 18 or 19 at the time, so I was instantly like the baby, it was like super inexperienced. So they just welcomed me with open arms and were so patient with me, and actually like she's tough on you when you're starting out. Like she, a lot sometimes, and depending
high
on
standards, you mean?
High standards. If there was ever like a little bit of a more like technical haircut, she would give it to me because that's the only way that you're gonna learn is if you get those.
Threw the baby in the bath.
Oh
water.
yeah,
deep into the pool.
Yeah, but she was always there though. She was always there for support and guidance, and so I mimic my management style off of her very much so because I know how she made me feel when I first started out. So for me now, students that are fresh out of school getting licensed and coming into this, they're my favorite. They're my favorite now because I fully understand starting from there and how scary that can be.
Yeah, you can relate.
Absolutely. And so I worked with her for, I want to say it was close to 8 months-ish. I think it was somewhere around there. And then I ended up moving to Colorado Springs where I worked at CO 207 for 3 years. it was a while.
The school store, or who's the team leader?
That is Jay Gallagher.
Okay.
Yep. And so I worked there. Started off as a coordinator and was promoted to an assistant manager within like 4 months. And then we went through a couple different managers before I was promoted into that management bracket. But it was so much fun. I met so many amazing people through that Colorado team, and every time I'm at the huddles, I always get to just see them and hug everybody, and it's like seeing family.
At what point in that timeline did you get married?
I got married.
Were you at the first store or the second store?
Second store.
So you're at the second store. Because what I'm really interested in, you mentioned Ashley starting Colorado and then in Texas. I met Kirsten today, who she is married to a military member, and she's been all over the world, but the country, and every place that her husband's been stationed, she's worked at a Sport Clips.
Yes.
So she's able to walk right into a job that she's familiar with and good at. So I really want to get to the bottom of what happened in the process. Your husband James gets assigned to Hawaii. You win basically the lottery in terms of tour duties for quote unquote overseas tour duties.
Absolutely.
So you get Hawaii, but here you are, a successful manager, assistant, or whatever at your store in Colorado. What's the thought process? How do you research? Are there any Hawaii stores?
So,
or what happens?
Okay, so we found out around 7 to 9 days before National Huddle in Vegas in 2016.
Okay, so it's 2016.
Or 17, I'm so sorry.
17,
I was 17.
Yeah, because it's 19 now. Yep, so 17, we're in Vegas. A week ahead of time, you find out that Hawaii is
where we're going.
Okay,
So I knew that we had Sport Clubs in all 50 states, but I did not know.
Barely, because I think we had one store here.
We had one
right?
store.
Yeah.
No, we had two.
Oh, two, okay.
This store opened up in 2014.
Yeah. Okay.
So we, I knew that they were in all 50 states, but I still didn't fully know, like, what island are we going to be on?
Yeah.
Like, and so it was,
or how far from, Oahu, the island we're on right now, it's not huge.
No,
like,
it takes you 30 minutes to get to anywhere from here.
Right, but there is traffic, and there are considerations, and so not knowing the lay of the land, so you start researching, kind of figuring out.
Yeah, so my husband is in an aviation unit. He's an air traffic controller, so I knew that we were going to be on Wheeler Army Airfield. So Schofield Barracks is the actual Army base.
Is this kind of the center of the island?
Is
it?
Dead center.
Yeah, it is. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
It's the best part to be in my opinion, but... so I found out that we were going to be on Wheeler, and Schofield and Wheeler are literally right next to each other. And so I Googled Sport Clips and on Oahu, and so I found that we had two stores. So we had Waipahu, and then we had Mililani. And I originally called Mililani before the huddle and spoke to Jen, who managed for a while and ended up stepping down just to spend some more time with her kiddos and stuff like that. And she's now working at Sport Clips in Vegas now too, which is super cool for her. Oh yeah.
See, it's this whole. I think that's the theme of this podcast.
You just move
once you're with Sport Clips, you can get a job anywhere in the country.
It's so hard to leave. And so I called her and I told her, I was like, I'd really like to meet you. We're going to get stationed out there. I think that's the closest location from what I can tell on Google. And so she's like, okay, yeah, I'll be there. And I lost her phone number.
Be at Huddle?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I lost her phone number.
Because you called her at the store.
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
And I felt so bad about that. So we're and that was my first huddle too. And so we're sitting for our first main session, and I'm sitting with the Colorado group. All of a sudden, I see this little white sign for Hawaii pop up, and I just got up and I sprinted as fast as I could before that sign went down.
Nice.
And so from there, I met Eddie Kahn, who was our team leader.
Yep.
Vivian De La Cruz, who was our manager for Waipahu at the time, and then Jen, who was managing this store at the time. And so I'm frantic. I'm like, I'm moving out there in 9 months. And so I told them, this is the store that I'm at. Here's my phone number. So from that point, Eddie and I had we would talk for about an hour once every 2 weeks, coming up to the point where I left. And so he was asking how's your store doing right now, where are you improving, where are you not seeing some improvements that you'd like to, what steps are you taking to do that, and because he knew I was interested in coming out to manage again. And so I really got to communicate with him how my management style, what I expect from my team, what I'm about. And it worked out really well. So when the manager for this store stepped down, he told me about it, but we were getting close to 2 months without this store, HI-102, without a manager. So the original plan...
Yeah, that's what I was going to.
Yeah.
Because HI-103 is in the works while you're around this time.
Yeah. So it was quoted originally that HI-103 in Kapolei was going to open up in December of 2017.
And that's maybe 20 minutes from here?
Yeah, 20, 30 minutes, just depending on traffic, really. And so I was going to take it because it was,
So you were going to be the GO, you were going to manage a GO.
Yeah. And so, and I was super excited about that opportunity. And then, so when this store did not have the manager for 2 months, he was saying, stylists are kind of struggling a little bit, there's no leadership. And, he said, Mililani is so much closer to, because I have a 5-minute drive to work.
Really. I mean, the base or post is right around the corner.
There, yeah. So he's like, if you can come out sooner, it's yours. And I talked to my husband about it, and so I cannot tell you how crazy I think we packed up in we packed me up 2 or 3 weeks. And so, I mean, on the military side, there's a lot of paperwork that you have to do, a lot of screenings that you have to do, especially because they consider Hawaii an overseas move.
Yeah.
And so there was so much that we had to get done in such a short amount of time. And so from then, we get me out here, and we're packing me up, we're getting ready to go. So this is the day before I'm getting ready to go. And a few weeks before then, I had arrangements to sublease an apartment that's literally right across the street from my shop. And they gave my room away 14 hours before my flight took off.
You don't have enough stress in your life right now, so why don't we just pull the rug out?
I was leaving my husband for 2 months, moving. This is my first move in my adult life. I mean, really ever outside of Colorado, away from my family.
This is not the middle of nowhere. It's certainly the middle of somewhere, but it's so different than what we know, on the mainland.
It was a huge culture shock.
Yeah.
It was not what I was expecting, really. And I don't even really know what I was expecting, but it was so different. And so I came out here, and I literally got off my flight, took my bags to a hotel room, and took an Uber and met Eddie for dinner that night. And so immediately the next day I was in my shop working. And so
that's what I'm really interested in. I mean, you came, you're not a rookie, but you're new to them. You had spent not even 24 hours on the island. Yeah. And now you're here. I mean, are you the manager away?
Right away.
So Eddie introduces you. Here's your new manager. Walk me through what that's like.
The biggest things that kind of stood out to the team that I started with, sometimes when you come into a team, you've got your bad apples, and that happens. So the biggest thing that I noticed out here is I was the first stylist that Team Con has had that has worked for other sport clips off the island.
Ah, okay.
I was the first one. So it was very different. We don't have...
So was there a lot of, that's not how we do it around here,
yes.
attitudes? Okay.
Yes.
Got
so my biggest thing is I took the handbook and I just, everything.
This is how we do it around
like,
here.
Actually, it is. And so, which you got to have
cool.
that paper trail for everything. So I lost 3 stylists my first day.
Oh, wow.
3 quit on me. And
do you think they would have quit no matter what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the fact that...
I think the biggest thing is, like, they had that, mentality that, they were just here to show up, cut hair, and leave. They didn't have a lot of standards.
Well, I don't know. Maybe if you had come in and been like, whatever,
Well, that
just
was not going to happen.
Yeah. Now knowing you,
yeah.
I can attest to that. But, so yeah, they weren't going to make it.
No.
But then the others that did, how long before you felt like the respect started to come along?
It took... I honestly think about 3 weeks you saw a huge change. Like, first I knew it was overwhelming, and we had our first pep rally, and I'm like, we're going to make a lot of changes. It's going to be a little drastic at first, but we're going to see a huge improvement in everything once we do it. So,
did you have to, like, put the carrot out there, like, by the way, you'll make more money
yes,
this way?
So
okay.
I literally had to sit down one-on-one with every single stylist and break down... like, how can you bonus? Why do we focus on back bar? Why is it good for you? Why is it good for me? Why is it good for Eddie? Why is it good for everybody? And so I literally had to break it down a good handful of times, and it took a few months for it to super click with them, because even going over those numbers, there wasn't a lot of training that had been done to show them how to do that. So it just, because every stylist is different, they all have their different ways of pushing retail or back bar or what have you, and so really listening to each stylist and exactly what is going to work for you. It's probably not going to work for this other person, but how can I get this working for you? So really what happened is 2 weeks after I started, I hired who is now my assistant manager, Kim.
Yep.
And she...
one of 3 Kims,
One
by
of
the
3
way.
Kims in my store. And she is a firecracker. She is here to work. And so she was the first one that was, just knocking it out of the ballpark. And so people saw how much money she was making and how she was doing so well for herself. They're like, oh.
Maybe I should follow the 5-point play and do what Kirsten's telling me to do.
So that was a huge difference right there. She was my first person that was, really helping me push it. And then fast forward a couple months later, even more so, I have Kirsten come, who we all call Naomi because I'm Kirsten, she's Kirsten, but it's spelled the same way and it's super confusing. And so she's been with the company for 9-10 years now. And she has managed, she's been in multiple different stores, and she's been in my shoes before, and she's like, I'm going to be your easiest stylist. And I hired her the day that she came into the store, and I was like, yup, we're doing this. Yeah. And so she's like, I'm going to be your easiest stylist. She's like, I don't want any of the added responsibility, but I'm going to do my best to help you with everything. Wow. And that's exactly what she does. So we had this we were probably running at, like she was saying this morning, about 30% of what we needed to be doing. Yeah. And, because we were just working. I didn't want to overwhelm my staff, so we were just getting there. She comes in, and a month later, we're probably running at 80. Everyone's hitting 80% on the 5-point play. Everyone's numbers are jumping, up like crazy because they're finally seeing that I'm not saying all these things for nothing, because there's another person that's experienced these things on the mainland. She's got your back. Exactly, because Hawaii is great out here, but we only get our coach out here once every 13 weeks, and she's only here for 1 week. So for however many stores that we have out here, getting everyone in. You do have an artistic team member as your coach, though, so you do have a rock star. We do. We are so lucky. The fact that you get her every 13 weeks. I try to kidnap her every time. I'm like, I'm going to chain you up back here, and you're never going to leave. So you get her. You have now, and this is true. I mean, we talked this morning. First thing I usually do when I come to a store is I'll go back and I'll take a look, at your performance board and see what that's all looking like. And the leap that you guys have made in 1 year, and not that it's all you or all Kirsten.
but it's
No,
this
it's
combination.
everyone.
Yeah, everyone is totally bought in, and you are leading this really great team now.
Yeah.
What was the most challenging coming from Colorado to Hawaii? Was it the culture shock? Was it the lack of kind of organizational systems? Kind of what do you think was your biggest hurdle that you had to get over?
So I like a good challenge. I think like the biggest thing was, like I said, this was the first time I moved away from my family.
Oh, okay.
Because I have that family where, like, if one person's moving, everybody goes with them.
Yeah, okay.
I was the exception, though, because no one wants to be moving every 3 years.
Right.
And they were done with that. So that was really hard for me. I have a lot of younger siblings that are growing up, and I'm missing a lot of milestones with them, which was really tough on me. Still is. That the first 2 months I think were the hardest thing I've ever gone through as a person. Well,
especially without James around.
Yeah, my husband wasn't here yet. Figuring out housing, because technically I was homeless for a few days, sleeping in the break room, and so it took a minute to get that to balance out. But at the same time, I was out here, and when I came out early, I wasn't out here to Hawaii. I was out here to sport clubs, and so I worked. I think like my first 3 days I was here until midnight cleaning, because it was interesting. I'll just say it that way. I cleaned the entire store, and then my first 3 full weeks here I worked open to close every single day. I wasn't taking any days off. And then one day my stylist Sarah, she's like, you need a day off, I'm taking you to the beach. And so I took like a 4-hour nap on the beach that first day, and I was like, okay, I need to
you
do
passed
this.
out essentially.
Yeah,
it was collapsed.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And so really it was I'm gonna say it was like the stress of not having anyone that I really know. It took my truck 2 weeks to get shipped out here after I got here. And the day that my truck got here, I worked like an 8-hour shift, I think, that day, a closing shift. And I picked up, I got my truck that morning, and I was sitting in the parking lot. I got off work, I sat in my car, and it was the first thing that kind of just felt like home. It was something that was familiar. And I fell asleep in my truck, and in Hawaii, you cannot sleep in your vehicle.
Yeah, that's...
And at 3 a.m, our security guard came tapping on my window, and I was like, I am so sorry.
Did he make you take any sort of test?
No, because I was in uniform and everything, and I was just like, I'm so sorry. Like, it's like, and I was trying to explain it to him, and he's like, you're fine. It's okay. And even now when I see him every now and then, it's just like, I'm still a little mortified from it. But it was, I think that was just, just being in a new place by yourself is, a little intimidating. Yep. But, at this point we've made, we have our Hawaii Ohana now, and, all the stylists that I have, I can say we honestly and truly all love each other. We're all there for each other. And I know Kim was, like, trying to get me to live with her for forever. She was trying really hard, but I still didn't, like, super know her that well. So I'm just like, I don't know, I'm fine.
Yeah. But if you had to go back,
I would have taken
that a exactly, minute. Right. So it's going to lead me, I got 2 questions for you, then we'll get to the fun questions at the end. And it leads into that. The first question is, what do you know now that you wish you would have known when you stepped foot here, taking over the store?
Oh, man.
Not a regret, but something that would have made your life easier.
Oh, goodness. That's a hard question. Oh, gosh.
And not to stall so you can think longer, but I'm thinking about any managers or anybody that steps into management who maybe hasn't done it before, or is facing an unfamiliar situation, kind of like you coming from Colorado to Hawaii. What would make it easier for them now that you've been in this for 1.5 years, 2 years or whatever? Here, how would you answer
the biggest thing, or I'll say it kind of more as like a piece of advice, I guess, if that's all right. You have to walk the walk. So I'm very young. I have consistently been the youngest person in my shop, and so I know the biggest challenge that my original staff had was they see a child basically coming into their store and, making all these changes. But when I got on the floor and they saw me doing that 5-point play, and they saw the quality of my haircuts and my speed as well, because the haircut times were very, very high. They're like, oh, she's serious.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that from this. They knew that right away. I was like, I mean business. And so, any changes that you make, any, even like you have to do it. Like, you have to be the first person to make that step. And if you're not doing consistent, the first time that someone sees you not doing it consistently, they're gonna point that out so fast, so fast. They're
and
gonna
then
point
hanging
that
over
out.
your head and all that.
Yeah, and it just makes it so much harder because, you know, in the beginning, these stylists don't trust you. They don't know you.
Yeah, they don't know you. Yeah.
And so, but if you show them, you know, immediately that, you know, like, that you know what you're doing, that they can trust you, that, you know, you have to show them the signs on, like, that you're fully there for them.
Yeah.
That you care about them.
I love it.
That's a big thing.
The next question before I get to the 10 fun ones. So now that you are where you are, looking back, what in the last, since you got here, what are you most proud of? The one thing that you're like, you know what, I can't believe I did it, but I did it, and we're successful, and I'm glad I did that thing. What is it?
Honestly, I mean, just, it's so hard to just put that into one thing. Like, you know, when you're a young stylist fresh out of school, every little milestone feels huge. Like, your first skin fit, it's not an easy haircut. You know, your first flat top, the first time that you hit your numbers, that was huge in the beginning. Like, obviously for me, like, right now I'm very thankful about doing the 100 MVPs because it had never been done before, and, you know, getting that recognition, just not from my staff, but from
The country.
everybody. That was huge, you know. And so I got so many phone calls and emails from it, and I honestly was not expecting it.
I
to
loved
be
when
that
you
big.
interacted with, like, when we posted on social media, and you commented back to people
Oh,
that were
yeah.
saying stuff. And,
I was being feisty with the people that, like,
well,
who
yeah,
cares?
you got
And
some
I'm
people like, who would ever want to do that? And you're like, hey, and that's my record, so back off. But no, I did appreciate the fact that also that, you know, people were like, they had genuine questions, and you took the time to answer. Here's how I did it, and here's what you could do, and so. So that was cool. I love it. All right, look. Today is your day off, so I am taking up your precious time with you. Jane's going to get mad at me here. So let's go through my fun 10 questions at the end, and then we'll let you get on to. By the way, for those who I don't think we said earlier, we're recording this during the July 4th holidays, so you've got some big firework plans to go attend to. On the island of Oahu. Okay, number 1. Which superpower would you most like to have?
To teleport anywhere.
Okay. Oh, so you can get to Colorado and see family
exactly
and then come back, get back to your shift. Okay. What is your personal motto?
My personal motto? Oh gosh. I've always had this, like, little, you know, slogan, you know, making the world a beautiful place one haircut at a time.
Okay, that's good. And not one I've heard before. I like it. Other than where you live now, which it's funny because who was I just interviewing? It was the team leaders of the year. They picked Hawaii as the place that they would like to live, if I remember right. But other than where you live right now, where else in the world would you most like to live?
Oh my gosh, I'd love to see Wales. I just recently found out that I'm Welsh, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'd love to experience that, I think.
You got to go. Make it happen.
I know. It's on my bucket list.
Who is a celebrity you'd most like to meet one day?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. It's gonna sound random. Jack Black. I love Jack Black. I love him.
Yeah, of course. He's hilarious. Jumanji.
Yes.
That's one of the kids' favorite movies. He was hilarious in that. Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
Which words or phrases do I most overuse? Time is money, probably.
Okay,
that's a big
your team
one
members hear that all the time. Okay, time is money. They should give you a time is money shirt. What sound or noise do you love?
So I'm from a part of Colorado that's very Midwestern. So it's the oop. Like anytime that you
What is that?
It's a thing that.
Well, like when somebody does something good, or
no,
like when you make a mistake,
going,
like
oop.
oop.
Like you almost like like run into somebody, you go, "Oh, I'm sorry," or like you drop something, like it's like it just.
My bad. Oop.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oop.
Okay. Ooh. All right. What sound or noise do you hate?
people chewing with their mouth open.
Oh, I'm so glad I spit my gum out before, because I totally would. What profession other than your own would you have been good at, or at least have wanted to try?
I wanted to either I wanted to be if I wasn't going to do hair, I was going to be a band teacher.
Okay. Is there a certain instrument? Or?
I could play at a college level with the clarinet by the time I was in 7th grade.
Oh, wow.
I also play the violin.
Okay, wow, man.
Yeah.
That sounds like what you should have. You should be playing as clients
Oh, gosh.
goes in. Do something. Have a little tip jar out there. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement?
That's pretty remarkable. Yeah, the 100 MVPs and championship. By the way, for those listening to the podcast, you couldn't hear her point to the championship belt that she's got. That's a pretty good one. I mean, the whole career so far. I mean, obviously being as young as you are, you still have the whole world ahead of you here at Sport Clips. But for you to come from Colorado to here 2 months ahead of your husband, find a way to live and find a place to live and all that kind of stuff, and take a store that you're the very first manager probably who hadn't ever been on the island before, and for you to come in and do all that you've done and turn it around. There's a lot of achievements in there to choose from. So, last but not least, if heaven indeed exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, man.
That's what you want to hear him say?
No, not
Uh-oh. We got an issue there.
I think just...
As long as it's not oop.
No. What are you doing here? No, I'm just kidding. I think it would be like along the lines of having validation that I did something to change at least one person's life for the better. Because that's all I want to do is just help people.
Let's go back to your motto.
Yeah.
I mean, making the world a beautiful place, one haircut at a time, but changing people's lives, one person at a time. So
absolutely.
I love that. Hey, your story is amazing. And like I said just a second ago, it's just the beginning. I mean, what you've already accomplished at your age, this is just the start for you. And I had to I was coming to Oahu anyways, but I wasn't planning, just to come see anybody on Oahu. I had to make sure to get out here and see you, because what you're doing here is next level. I love it. Love what you guys are all about, and we'll see how long this championship belt can stay at HI 112. So before somebody else out there challenges your record. So thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for listening. We'll have another episode for you next week. Hey, good job. That was great.
Yay.
That was really good. I mean, actually, I felt like we went 50 minutes. I felt like we could have gone an hour and a half to 2 hours or so. Because you do have a great story, a great Sport Clips story.
Oh, thank you.
And I love how you are all about Sport Clips and BUHR.
Yes.
And the fact, you're Sport Clips OG. From beauty school to coordinating to working in
it was the first. The store that I got hired at, that was the first store. That was the first place that I applied to. Out of everything.
That's crazy.
It just
and you never looked back, never did women's hair? Maybe on the side kind of thing?
Kind of like I apprenticed at